According to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, this landmark is home to more than 1,500 species of fish, 411 types of coral, one-third of the world's soft corals, 134 species of sharks and rays, 6 of the world's 7 species of threatened marine turtles, more than 30 species of marine animals, as many as 3,000 mollusks and thousands of different sponges, worms, and crustaceans, 630 species of starfish and sea urchins, and 215 bird species, 22 of which are seabirds. And this landmark may also be extinct within 3 decades. Can you guess what it is? I'm referring to the Great Barrier Reef, located in Australia. The extinction of this World Heritage Area is important to know about because it is entirely preventable. The Great Barrier Reef is an important part of the Earth's ecosystem, and everything possible should be done to try and save it from extinction. I have been fascinated with marine ecosystems ever since I was a child, and I'm going to school for a degree in wildlife and marine biology, and in doing so, I have read many studies on the reef and its ecosystem. First, I will discuss how global warming is killing the reef. Then, I will discuss how coral predation is killing the reef. And lastly, I will discuss what will happen if it dies and what anyone can do to try and save it. According to LiveScience.com, the Great Barrier Reef is around 500,000 years old. The current formation took 20,000 years to form. And over the past 27 years, only 27, the reef has shrunk to half of its former size, and in another 30 years, may be completely extinct. CommonDreams.org says that while 42% of coral death is from coral predation, 48%, almost half, is due to the effects of global warming. Global warming is a gradual increase in the overall temperature of the Earth's atmosphere, typically attributed to the greenhouse effect caused by increased levels of carbon dioxide and other pollutants. Global warming affects the reef in 3 different ways. First, rising water temperatures. Global warming causes an increase in global temperature and therefore sea temperature. This is killing the reef's coral because marine fish and coral are very temperature sensitive, and a change in water temp of only 1 to 2 degrees can kill coral. The second is the rising sea levels. They are also caused by the global temperature rising due to the expansion from the heat. Rising sea levels are also caused by the melting of the Arctic ice, which adds to the total amount of water in the ocean. And 3, lastly, tropical cyclones. Tropical cyclones get their energy from warm oceans in the tropical regions. And since the temperatures around the reef are increasing and around the world, so has the number of cyclones that hit and destroy those coral formations located in the reef. All 3 ways majorly attribute to the death of the Great Barrier Reef from global warming. Now that I discussed how global warming is responsible for the death of the Great Barrier Reef, I will discuss how coral predation is killing the reef. As I said, coral predation accounts for 42% of the decline in the Great Barrier Reef. In this case, the cause of coral predation is by the crown of thorns starfish. They are a species of thorny starfish, and one single crown of thorns starfish female can lay 60 million eggs at a time. They are an invasive species to the Great Barrier Reef, and their numbers outbreak every 17 years. According to research by the Australian Institute of Marine Science, they estimate that if crown of thorns starfish predation had not occurred over the past 3 decades, there would have been a net increase in average coral cover instead of a 50% decrease. Now that you know how coral predation is killing the reef, I will tell you what will happen if the reef is not saved and what you can do to help it. If the reef dies, dozens of endangered species will suffer due to the loss of their support system. We will lose one of the most richest and most complex natural ecosystems on Earth, and many more species will suffer. The reef also provides around 70,000 jobs in the tourism industry in Australia, which would be lost. There are many ways to save it, which include donating to organizations that are trying to help protect the reef, and mainly any way that you can reduce the amount of carbon emissions you produce. You can bike instead of drive and carpool and such, and your lifestyle changes may be felt across the world at the reef. First, I discussed how global warming is killing the Great Barrier Reef. Then, I discussed how coral predation is killing the Great Barrier Reef. And lastly, I discussed what will happen if the reef is not saved and what can be done to save it. The Great Barrier Reef is one of the world's most important heritage areas, and its extinction is completely preventable. The World Heritage Committee organization listed the reef for all 4 natural criteria, which states that the reef is an outstanding example representing the major stages of the Earth's revolutionary history, an astounding example representing significant ongoing geological processes, contains unique, rare, or superlative natural phenomena, formations, or features of areas of exceptional beauty, and be a habitat where populations of rare or endangered species of plants and animals still survive. The Great Barrier Reef is all that and more, but it may be dead in the next 30 years. But you and me and our children and everyone in the world can make changes in our lives to save it, so that maybe one day we can all visit and see its natural and vibrant beauty.